All right. So we're coming into this meeting. I'm going to start it a little bit differently, little sequence here. I want you to set an intention for yourself, for this community. Just take a minute, set an intention. Okay. Now, our music has brought us pretty much into our body, but just for another minute, stand for a minute and stretch, because I want us to feel really invigorated and alive. And instead of doing a whole breath, we're going to do some laughter yoga for just a little bit, just 30 seconds. And if you want, just pretend you're laughing at the most hilarious joke you've ever heard. So here we go. Okay, pause. Feel the bubbly invigoration of that. Okay, and feel the life force in you, the power of life. And if you want, just in your pews, you can stand still or wiggle a bit. Feel life. Even Charles had the life center down in the lower chakras. So. Okay. Now, let's take a whole body breath all the way from the ground up to our crowns. Now, this time, take a deep breath, but we're going to send it out. We're going to stop at the heart chakra and send it out. Do that one more time. You can be seated. Be in presence. Feel what is alive in you right now. The song Tam sang for us, that power of love, it's a harmony and an energy, and it touches into what we desire, what we want. We gather here in love and wisdom to have understanding and order, and to use imagination, faith, and strength in this new chapter of Unity of Little Rock. Oh, bless your own heart. Bless the people sitting around you. Send a blessing way out into Little Rock. Bless this world. And so the work begins. Well, I think that they've passed out an agenda. It's very open.
Did everyone get one? No? Okay, and did everybody get a financial statement?
I only ran 20, but you can share. That down here, the music team didn't get one. Okay. Are we good? So I call this meeting to order, and there's a lot of things to say. I think we're prayed in. Pat and I talked, and so I was allowing that to be our opening prayer. In an opening statement, okay, I'm in charge right now, but y'all need to know that the board has not voted. We have not voted on who's going to be president. does turn out that the bylaws say that the vice president is supposed to take that position. Vondra is not here. She probably got called out and wasn't able to come. And with some patience, I'm intending to do the work, and the board is in agreement, but we need to work this out with the bylaws, so be patient with us on that. So,
Just go down the down arrow.
oh, okay.
It'll take you forward.
Oh, thank you so much. Whoa, okay. So, oh gosh. What I want us to do is, I said this in my talk a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling Jerry that when I organized my daughter's wedding, we organized it around 4 words, and it really helped. It really focused us so that we didn't do things that we didn't want to do. These are the words that have come to me in meditation, and I'm perfectly willing for you all to add to them. But I want us to focus on gratitude and self-awareness and wholeness and healing for these next 2 months through the end of the year. Probably in January, we really need to look at change big time. But I want us to really get ready to do that change. And we know the holidays are coming up, the fall's a busy time, but I think if we focus on these 4 points, that we will be ready to do that. And we will have some ideas already kind of laid out and ready to go. So that is what I am hoping for. And it's all about relationship. Relationship's so important. Relationship with our own Christ nature and our inner and outer world, but then relationship with each other. And that's part of the wholeness, is building that relationship that I believe that we can do. So I guess the next thing we need to do is to look at this financial report. And then I want to address your questions that you may have. So what I did, it may be more detailed than you want. I don't know. I really wanted y'all to see it month by month. And I am looking at the page that says Unity Church Income and Expenses. And you can see what our income has been. October is incomplete because I just don't have enough data in on that. I haven't finished it. But I did have somewhat of an idea of what October is. And then you can see where we've been running some deficits through the year. And, but it's actually amazing, given what we have done, and some of the projects that we've had a fundraiser for TAM to go to a conference. We've done some building repair. Our building really looks pretty fresh right now, and it's just pretty amazing. So now I did want you on the back, I wanted you to see how the contributions go. You can really see the ups and downs of the contributions. And of course, the first and third weeks are often the better weeks because, people get paid those weeks. But you can see where we've our online, the trends there, the midweek, and different things. So now our bank balance right now is low because we did pay the insurance for the rest of the year. The insurance is a great big expense. And if you're looking on the first page, that's under church business. So the church business always spikes, and in January and April and July, and then this month, October. So that's what that's about. Do y'all have any questions about this report?
I just wanted to make sure that it's important that we had a conversation. That's mainly like liability insurance more than just building insurance, correct?
Oh, yes. It insures the board. Church insurance is more complicated than just doing insuring the building. And in fact, it insures, we don't really go on field trips, but it insures if we were to have a van and take people places, it actually covers that as well. So, and currently the insurance is $1,425 a quarter, and it went up. It went up $200 a quarter this year.
So for example, like when we went to Ronald McDonald House at our house, and that insurance
yes.
covers that kind of thing?
Actually, it would. It would. It would.
It might be a little loud. Let me turn it down just a-
Oh, yeah, definitely injury.
When the lightning hit and struck the light
Yeah.
went out, or when the building got robbed and all that stuff, it covers all of those types of things.
Well, and then the heater was stolen one time, yes. We have collected on this insurance, actually. So, yeah. So anything else anyone needs to ask? Yes.
I'm curious, can you wait and have a mic like?
Okay.
Not sure I actually want to be mic'd, but thanks. My intention was for Sounds of Unity to begin to generate some income for the church.
Yes.
Is that in any of these numbers?
Oh, it would be in the midweeks. And yes, ma'am, you have been a big contributor to this. It's not broken down, but I do have detailed reports where it's recorded.
Okay.
And yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious.
Sounds of Unity
Sure.
has been
That could be
really nice
obviously much more, but-
help.
Thank you.
So if you look in midweeks and any time, yes, you're definitely a part of it. Absolutely. The Oneness Movement they've been really good at monthly contributing, things like that. So, yes, now that I actually did list separately. That's on there, on the tithes from Dallas. Yeah, they've given us money this year. You know, I didn't get this put in here, but I've been trying to figure out if I average the insurance over the year, the gas gets crazy, the gas cost gets crazy in the winter, if I average that out, you guys, our operating expenses are low. It's about $3,500, and it was about $4,000 when we were trying to support a minister. That is low. It really is. And some of y'all may be looking and saying, well, I see that you made $4,000 a lot of months, but you know, the other things come in, I suppose. But anyway, our operating expenses are low. They really are. We have no debt. We are so lucky. Now, this isn't an annual meeting. We don't have to approve this, but I certainly want to be able to answer questions. And I have more detail in other places that if anyone needs to understand more.
So what are you telling us in terms of what it takes to support the church?
Okay, so she wants to know what does it take to support the church. So the way I figured it with averages, if we got really steady and averaged it out, I think honestly $3,500 would cover the bare minimum. It really would. $3,500, okay, a month. Yes, a month. If we were starting to make $4,000 and $4,500, we would start to come out of this deficit that we have. I think we'd start building more of a surplus if we got, but $3,500 is the minimum.
I gotta speak to that. I gotta speak to that.
Well, also, before Colleen and she should speak to it, but y'all do need to understand, we're behind about 8 checks with Russ, 8 weekly checks. And the very first thing we need to do, we did pay the insurance for the rest of the year. That was one goal. The second goal is we need to pay Russ what he is owed. And I want to that needs to be clear and clean before we proceed. So we will be catching up with that because we were behind with him.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you like to add?
If you lock into that figure of 3,500, you're forgetting there's absolutely zero in there for speakers, and most speakers aren't gonna charge, and they have travel, and they have expenses, and so please don't lock into that figure. I
Well,
love
yeah,
what
that's-
Gene has done. But as a minister, taking a church that was heavily in debt to $12,000 a month income, I didn't ask for money twice in 6-7 years that I spoke on money. But what I did do was set a vision,
Yes.
and I focused that vision every week. So get by is not where it is.
No.
And when we have a vision and you raise that to $8,000 a month, and I say raise it to the place where you feel it's doable. If you raise it too high too fast, then you just sort of don't put any energy into it. But it really needs to be $8,000 a month, in my opinion. That's just me right now. But that's a good way to start, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Do you all agree? Because that 4,000 will start to develop a savings. If you hire a minister that comes from out of town, then there's moving expenses, and then there's the cost of interviewing and keeping them. It's what this board does is not simple. It's a major, major undertaking, and there's a lot of business expertise that gets called for. And so I just want to help her out up here.
Well,
Don't lock in on that 35.
I appreciate your saying that. I really do. Forgive me, I was being a math teacher, okay? Yeah, I did just the numbers, ma'am. That didn't work.
I was going to offer this as a suggestion. I was backing off because you were giving the report. But I know when times were very financially difficult for me, we are a church of tithing, and we always use our incentive to make the 10%. Sometimes that is difficult. But if we look at our income and can increase it by 1%,
Yeah.
or 2%, that's a doable. The more you can increase it is wonderful, but if you can look at your income and increase your tithe by 1%, that can make a great deal of difference for our church.
Thank you. Make it doable. Yes. And expand. Yes. I agree. Y'all do need to know that Russ, we stopped the spirit groups. We were paying a monthly fee to them, and we just felt like we really weren't utilizing what they were giving us. And but I don't want to stop the idea of small groups. That's not the point. But we just didn't need that affiliation. John.
Yeah, well, if you look at $3,500 a
Yeah.
month divided by 50,
Yeah.
that's $70 a month, $840 a year, which is not bad for as churches go. If you look at it divided by 25, which is around the people here, that's 140. So I mean, I think this church, the people who are here, who are participating, are doing a lot more than a lot of churches that are a lot larger than this. The issue
probably
is,
true.
this ought to be 150 people instead of 25 or 30. So the issue is, if the church is going to do anything different, it's got to deal with the issue about what are we doing, what are we going to have to do different to bring the congregation up. The whole argument here is congregation size, I think.
It certainly helps. Okay. The next thing are there any more comments? You may have more questions about finances, but let's open this up a little bit. I don't want to totally go over, go down the past and look at that. But if there's any burning questions you have about why we're here right now, I'm willing to try to entertain those questions.
I'll bring up one thing. So for the next, you talk about, let's focus on these things for the next 2 months through the end of the year. When do we anticipate starting to look for a new spiritual leader? Because in order to stay a Unity Church, we have to have one. I don't see how we can get around it. Unity says you have to have someone that's either a minister or an LUT.
Well, we have actually gone periods, a year and a half at a time, without one. We are supposed to be working with the transition team. We have not gotten with them up at Unity all right, some of you have been on minister searches before. The first thing is to get our act together. We're just not there yet. So,
Well, what is-
Tam, I can't answer your
Yeah,
question. I think-
what does that mean we're not there yet? Where do we have to be? Where do we have to be? Is it money or?
Well, money is part of it, but Sandy, and I need your help.
Is that we've been periods of 2 years without a minister here. But there's a whole lot that needs to go on among this group. A healing needs to happen and a release of everything that was before to make room for and attract that which we want here. And so, and finances is part of it. I mean, we can't even afford to bring somebody in for an interview and put them up at a hotel for the weekend and pay them a guest speaking fee right now. We are at our bare minimum, and so we need to increase our prosperity and our abundance of energy and life and love, and welcome somebody new with open arms. And we're not in a position to do that right now. In any of those areas, I don't think that we're ready yet. And so that we have a process that we need to go through of releasing and rebuilding among ourselves first, so that we can attract the kind of person that we want and need here to continue to build on that. So.
About a year and a half ago, we talked about having a ministerial search committee, and I volunteered for it. And it never came about. I'm not sure why. I did some research into what a ministerial search committee does. I went to the Unity website.
Right.
And the very first thing you do, you have to determine whether you need peacekeeping. They have professional peacemakers. I don't know if we need that or not. I've heard that has had some suboptimal results in the past.
That's right.
And I would actually like to avoid, I think it would be in our best interest to avoid having a third party come in and make peace. We should make peace among ourselves. Second thing you have to do is prepare a financial statement with an estimate of what resources you can use to get the minister. And we're, from this financial statement, we can't afford a minister. We can't afford a minister that will come in. So we need to, as everyone is saying, we need to get our house together. We need to get our act together. We need to bring in the people who aren't coming here and get them contributing. If we brought in all the people who are really spiritually part of this congregation but aren't attending, this room would be full. It really would. And you wouldn't need really large, people wouldn't have to be making uncomfortably large contributions. And it would be easy. And then if we have a real ministerial search and attract a minister he or she, I should say, would stimulate membership even more. And so it sounds like a tough problem. It's kind of a chicken and an egg problem. We need money to get a minister. We need a minister to help us raise money. Which do we do first? But it's not really all that hard if we just take it one step at a time and do it. So that's all I have to say.
As one who has worked on a minister's search committee, and Chris Johnson was with me on it, there is a whole packet, a large packet of information that is brought down from Unity Village telling us what the steps are. And yes, there is a peacemaker facility, but they're very expensive. Because we looked at that because we had some real situations at that time, and we thought of bringing the peacekeeper in because we had two facets in our congregation at that time, and we did a lot of healing work to be ready for a new person. If you go to the store, you want to buy something that fits you, that feels good, and that you want to come back and enjoy again. That's what we are attracting here in Unity. We need to let people know what we have here, and we are rebuilding and letting people know. So when you look for a minister or an organization right now, our nucleus is even shattered. Our board is kind of here and there, and we are not cohesive in what we want. And I think that's what we're trying to do today, is say, where do you want to go? What do you want? What do we want to be known for? When we get that set, then we attract the people here that makes us attractive to a new minister. That will also bring in the funds and the financing. So there's a whole process, as we said, to look for a minister. It does take time. It does sift it. We've sifted through a lot of unusual applications, some of whom we never even considered because they didn't even meet any of our criteria for our church. So there's a lot of prayer and thought that goes into this, and all of those that are working on this are going to need our prayer and their support so that they can know what we as a congregation want and need.
Right. Unity is not an organization like the Methodists send out a minister. That doesn't happen. You know, if it did, we'd be, you know, the Unitarians, I think they send out somebody. You know, we're just not, that's not the way it works. Becky, you have a question?
Well, speaking on what Pat was saying, I talked to several people, and there are people who are no longer coming to the church because we don't offer the variety of spiritual groups that we did when they first started attending.
Y'all, excuse me a minute. Keep going.
So as far as drawing people into the church and what we want, there are people who want that wide variety of spiritual groups.
Do I need to sign anything?
And angels,
Okay.
essential oils.
Oh.
I've got a list that Sir gave me, and a couple other people gave me things that we offered that we had with Theo. Apparently we had we had a really wide variety of spiritual methods and ideas, as opposed to very limited, which we seem to have gone to. So
I don't have much. I want it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I don't have much history here. My history began with Russ, and I really liked him. And I was happy with him. And I want to know why the heck he walked away in the first place. Why are we looking for another spiritual leader when he seemed pretty committed to all of us? I never saw him sitting. I saw him always with someone, always talking to someone, always doing his best. I don't understand. If this is a community and he was doing the work that I felt like he was supposed to be doing, I don't have any history. I was very proud to be part of this, you know, this whole congregation with him here, but I don't understand. I'm a little disenchanted with how that could even happen. What is going on here? You got to get down to the source of what the heck happened and why that would even happen.
And I can address that partially. I agree. I love Russ. I loved Russ. He was very dedicated. He was very kind, gentle soul. However, I spoke with Rose Kaiser. And Rose Kaiser, when they were looking for a minister and they were getting ready to hire a minister, Russ, she recommended that they not hire Russ, even though she loves Russ and she feels the same way about him as we do. She pointed out the fact that you need somebody that is spiritual, who is a kind person, but also somebody who's charismatic, because you cannot grow a church on somebody who is not charismatic. And Russ did not have the charisma to grow the church. And one of the things that I was told, the reason that Russ left, is because he did not feel that he could grow the church. He wasn't doing that for the church, so he felt he needed to step down. So this is people I've spoken with. So
Yeah, you're not Mike. Your mic's turned off or something.
Okay, you know, Jeannie and I talked going into this. We don't want to dwell on the past in this. I understand there's questions. There's still some hurt and stuff. But this meeting is for what we're going to do moving forward. And we can sit here, we wonder about the past, you know, place blame and all that, and we just don't want to do that here today. Because we've got to take a step forward at some point, and we're not going to do it by reliving what's beyond, what's behind us. So let's try to keep this meeting on ideas about moving forward, if we can, so we can get out of here and get to our food soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I know y'all know what we got for lunch, didn't you? Okay, all right. Becky, he felt like a real big change needed to happen. He came back from Unity Village feeling a real big change needed to happen. And then he finally decided the change was him. And he said, if I didn't leave, y'all weren't gonna change. And he just felt like something big had to happen. And I know he would love to talk to you more too, if you wish, because I'm not trying to dismiss you, but and I know that there's a lot of us in here. See, that's part of the healing. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. I think this could be very helpful right now. Our NBC group meets on Tuesday nights, and we decided last week what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 stations with grok cards, and grok cards are about feelings and needs. And what you do is there's 52 feelings and 52 needs, and you just deal them out, and you say, I'm angry, I'm confused, I'm conflicted, I'm happy, whatever it is. And there's going to be 4 stations, and we really invite the entire church to come, whoever wants to do this, and we will guide you as you lay out those cards, and you might get answers given, and also what you could get, though, is an understanding of how you feel, and you could be heard and seen about that. And I think it could be a very healing thing to do. And it's open to the entire church. I'm going to talk about it again later. But this is Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. And I know you're in Conway, right? But if you, and I'm thinking about, I'll do food again a little bit. so it could be a really neat thing for the whole congregation to do. Anyone who feels the need of laying that out, we are open to it. And there's going to be 4 of us doing it, 4 different tables. So.
That's right.
Yes. Where's your mic?
My assessment, in my humble opinion, is this church has been in grief from the time James left. Grief. Grief is undelivered communications, and you all have a message. What Jean's talking about is great. What I told you was that when Russ took the job, I told you that day, or the one that they told us that he was taking it, that the person who follows a very charismatic leader is virtually destined to fail. They become the sacrificial lamb, and that's what happened. If you really look at this, as I have from being behind the pulpit, Russ has great skills as an administrator, as a people person, in a pastoral way. He evolved his skills as a speaker, and he worked to grow. I supported Russ as far as I could, but I also knew that we had this elephant in the room that had never been dealt with, which is the grief that you're still feeling. When you left, and I suggested to Russ a couple of weeks before he resigned, said, Russ, I wouldn't want this church to go down on my watch. And he understood it was coming from my concern for him, as well as for this church. No one of us has all of the answers. As I look around, I see you, many of you who have done your own thing to support and to help. But what was happening? And I will just say, let's clear out the grief by, how do you clear it out? You clear it out not by sideways activities, but by facing it within yourself. And some other things that the board will need to look at. But what what makes the church grow is becoming a family and caring for one another. And part of that is going to be not throwing Russ away. He still lives in the community. He's still a part of his church. He wants to be a part of the church. And he gave you everything he knew to give. And so what you said about not being charismatic, he's charismatic. We all are. Now, charismatic means to be enthused of God. His just didn't show up in the way that causes people to say, hey, this man's got it, or whatever. But we have it. There's enough power in this room that you can make a huge difference just with the energy of what you take away from here today. And that is, not that it's fractured, not that it's scattered, but this group is about becoming focused.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Since I started with a question about a ministerial serve, I understand what Sandy was saying. I understand where we're at, that we need to heal and all that. I think as a church member, though, I would just like to know that we're just not putting this off. That we know, actually what Pat said, is we know how to do this because we've done it before.
Yes.
So I think as a member, I would just like to know what are the steps we need to take to go through this. And if we could just get that much, soon enough, I think I would feel better. So yes, if we need to go through a healing, then that's maybe that's step one. But there's some other things obviously too. There's some financial concerns, and some other things that we need to do. So I think I would be happy with just knowing what the plan is. So that we're not, because it felt to me, and I've been here about 2 years now, it felt to me that in this process of, Russ is our interim director, or our interim spiritual leader, and it was just sort of, we kept kind of voting them in, sort of, because we were giving them short-term contracts.
Right, we did, and then we came to the annual meeting and we stepped it up.
Right.
At that time.
Right,
Yes.
but it sort of just felt like there wasn't much going on there. The decision just kept being put off and put off and put off, and I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like that we do know that we have. Am I wrong in saying that we have to have we have to have a minister or a licensed Unity teacher to remain a Unity church? At one point, do we not become a Unity church because of that? Does anybody know that question? I'm looking at it earlier.
So if I understood your question, how do we grow from here? Is that it?
Well, the question is,
Are we legitimate without a leader?
Yes, you are, because remember that you've heard me say, James say, and everybody else say, every person is a minister. Every person in this room is a minister. What churches are doing, going through this process that you're involved in right now, and thank you for the chance to speak to this. We have a process to go through. That causes a lot of confusion in some minds, so I want to clarify that. The process is to pick ourselves up and start with the leadership we've got. You've got some people in this audience, and people not here today, that are great speakers. The way up and out of this is to go ahead and get this debt handled. Everybody contribute. Write your check, put out as much in today as you can to show this board you're behind them. I'm going to do that. But we all need to do it. She's not asked for it because she doesn't know this is a place where you hit the problem right smack up in the face. The second thing is, if you have a message that you want to share and can give, let this board know. Churches of this size are using their lay people, and they're setting it up with a schedule, and some of us will look out. People won't really resonate. Some will go like a grass fire, and that's fine. That's the way it works. But we've got people in Little Rock that can do what was done before. Jean is grooming as a speaker. Travis spoke last week. I look around and I'm saying, take a lesson from Christian Scientists. They don't have ministers. They use their laity for everything. And so churches are recognizing that leadership is no longer one person. Look around your job site, look education, wherever, and you will see that leadership is now falling on our shoulders, not on just one person.
Well, I think we do need to get some nominations and whatnot, but to briefly answer your question, Tam, I can only see right now the next 2 months, which is what I've put up there, okay? Then I see, and I hope within that time, more leadership emerges, and we figure out what we're going to do in the year. And it could be that by the end of the year, by the summer, I don't know, but I just can't predict right now when that's going to be. Yes, we need a leader. I don't want to, and I'm leaving in March. I do need to make that clear. I'm
leaving in March.
Well, I'm not walking out the church, but but we have to have a new leadership by March. We do to fill our board. So I'm just taking the baby steps right now because I'm pretty wobbly myself. I'm just going to admit it, and I'm going through a lot of grief over all of this. And but I just keep pulling myself back to what I want. And I want all of us to find that and communicate with each other about it. And so that's the best answer I can give you right now.
So would it be a correct statement just to say the best thing we can do as a community is to have everybody step up?
Well, yeah.
Be the leader that, whatever percent.
Show up, stand up, and speak up.
Because I think that's what the community needs.
Yes.
You need to speak with a mic because we can't hear you back here. So everyone's talking, so you use the mic. And you've got the mic. Robert's been waiting to talk.
Oh, sorry. Let me just say it real quick. What I heard Jeannie say is that we just need everybody in the community to step up and be the best leader that they can be during this transition period. I was just questioning Unity says you gotta have a minister, you gotta have an LUT to be a Unity church. And I'm not surprised. Unity is a very laid-back organization, so it's not like the Unity Nazis are going to come and just take this Unity nameplate away from us. It's not going to happen.
But no, it won't.
So we can
worse.
cruise along as long as we're able.
Right.
But we need more people to step up.
All right, Mr. Love?
Okay, one more, and then I do want to get to the nominations, but go ahead, Robert.
My name's Robert. Short history at this stint in my life of Unity, coming in the 1st of June of this year. And I just want to talk about experience for a moment and has done what it's meant for me. But also the attitude of service and giving. I think that's been addressed, but maybe not specifically here. But coming into a congregation of open and loving hearts that we have here, if we have an attitude of service and giving, finding a niche wherever we can be in this church. Mine's music. I've always done music, so that was a natural gravitation for me. I think it behooves each one of us to search where that natural gravitation of service begins. And when that happens, then as a wise man once told me we see the job, do the job, and stay out of the misery. We get into whatever that sense of service that we have in this. I knew Russ briefly. I went through my training or my initial membership with Russ. What a wonderful teacher and what a great spiritual guide. So I too was shocked when I heard the difference that he had decided to leave. But my previous experience with Unity was in 1980 to 1984 when I was music director here at this church for 4 years. And I can truly say that what I have learned in these 4 months is so much greater. Maybe I'm more open now than I was back then. But the message of unity is so strong in this church that I have learned more about myself, about what it means to be a part of a larger community, and Russ was a wonderful part of that. I don't understand, but, I don't have to understand. I don't have to understand that, because it's a natural flow, it's a natural growth, and each one of us has a way to contribute, whatever that is. If it's sitting back and writing a check, if it's sitting back and listening, if it's coming to the Hootenannies, if it's coming to NBC, there are lots of things. And each one of us can bring one person at some point. Only one person, we would double our congregation overnight.
That'd be easy. That's good. And actually, Robert, what you're really talking about is self-awareness. And I have plans for that. I've got some people I want to bring in that they're going to look at spiritual gifts and love languages that it's going to be a really neat way to discover how you can really give. And it just exactly fits with what you just said. Okay, so Bill, real
I
quick.
have something that I wanted to say, but it was relative to the next slide that was up there.
All right.
I want to add a person to be invited to as an advisor to nominate Robert.
So, okay, well, let's get to that part. Okay, all right. Evandra, it turns out the bylaws say you're really supposed to be the president.
I know that, but if you want during I think you're more qualified, but I think it's time. I know there are a lot of people here who are okay with some of us on board not having presence here, and unfortunately my work, I'm leaving in an hour for Florida for probably 6 weeks. So I think that we need to vote in a way that you're acting until I get back, because I think I'm gone until November, because we're going down to Michael to clean up. But one of the things, there are a lot of strong personalities in this congregation, and I've been told in a number of phone calls when I've made them that I don't get along with so-and-so, I don't like so-and-so, my ethics are different than so-and-so, the so-and-so did this to me 25 years ago and I won't let it go. Every single one of us is strong. Every single one of us is an immense personality. Every single one of us is a giant draft horse who could pull this church in any direction we want to. And what we're here to do today and what we're here to do going forward is for all of us to get at least within 20 degrees of each other and headed in the same direction. And if you don't like Bob the Builder over here, then I invite you to be a pillar in this church in the southeast corner instead of the northwest corner. Because you're still one of the church members, you're still holding it up, and your service isn't just to this. We're like the child who has a drug problem. You're not happy, you want it healthy, you want to see it survive, but you get to the point where you're just exhausted, you're worn out, nothing you're doing's working, and you feel like you don't know what to do. What to do is when you have that little internal voice that says, I want to do something at the church, but it's Tuesday at 3 p.m. and the church isn't open. We got a parking lot full of acorns. Bring a broom, sweep them suckers. You know, we got plants that need to be trimmed down. We've got doors that can be wiped down and hit the handles. When you have that you have that little moment of, I want to do something for this church, do it. Because that's God speaking to you, or your divine speaking to you, saying, I can be of service. And if 20 of us do that 10 times a week, that's a couple hours worth of upkeep. And there haven't been very many people here. And one of the other things I heard was, well, we want the board to write a report, and we want to see daily what you're doing. We want to see weekly what you're doing. We want to see James back on the TV. We want to see James every weekend on the TV. It's been all kinds of things. We're all very attached to what we want to see going forward. But the foundation of unity is, I'm praying going forward. I don't know how it's going to happen. What is it Andre always used to say? I don't know how it is it's going to happen, but I will succeed. Your energy comes to this church even when you're sitting at home and you're in your living room and you've had a thought of us. Your energy is with every person in this room who at one point or other you were close to and you did things with. And that energy is going to keep building in this church, and that's what we're here to invite and stoke. Because we're not a congregation of a bunch of individuals. We're a giant congregation who has a lot of parts, just like the cells in your body, and we're all going to do our job. So if you do it when you feel moved to do it, I guarantee you that's enough. And if you can't commit to a 3-year term on the board, then you can commit to 5 minutes in the kitchen helping Jerry put things up at the end of a service. Or you can commit to picking up, I know Linda goes through and picks up all the cups that people leave under the desk. There's all kinds of things, and you don't have to put it down in blood to be of service. You need to act when you're moved. And you need to realize, more importantly than anything, and believe me, I am a big one for this. I will say that every foul that everybody here has created, I have done. And don't be so attached to what the outcome has to be. Don't have such an attachment to who has to do it, when it has to be done, how it has to be done, that you are hurt when it doesn't happen. Because that will kill it before it ever begins. You have given yourself 10 reasons not to show up. Show up, be here. You will see what's being done. You will be then in an opportunity situation to help out. And you'll know when you're needed. And just come without, I come here, I will be the first to admit that there are times I come here in the last year and a half and I'm like, man, this is exhausting. I think Jeannie should be canonized for 10 years on the board.
No. No.
And I feel like Scott and I are the least qualified on the board, but you know what? We showed up, we're doing what we can do, and we're here when we can be here. And we're not perfect. If you're perfect, step up. If you want to see the board change, be willing to step up to the board.
Who among you is perfect?
If you want to see the minister change, be willing to bring somebody in, talk to friends, get people here, because there are other charismatic speakers. There are other charismatic people. And if you can only sing on the choir one weekend a year, do it. That's all that we need to do. But I think every person in this room is an incredible powerhouse of energy and spirituality who I dearly miss when they're not here. And half the reason we come is community. In fact, for some people, 100% of the thing is community.
Yeah.
And the community is every single one of you. You don't have to like everybody. You can actively hate somebody if that's what you're into. You don't deal with them. Go be a pillar in the other end of the room. Just show up, just be here. And you know what? The other thing, I'm going to say one more thing because I know I talk a lot. The NVC opportunity. I know that there are a lot of people going, well, I'm not really into NVC. I don't want to. Okay, when you have that problem that you need to solve and you've done everything you know to do and you are either acting from a place of lack or you're acting from laziness and sloth or you're not showing up. I invite you to look at it as it's not we came to this meeting, we solved everything and we're gone. This is a living being. This is a living religion or spiritual nature or journey, depending on what you're from. And in order for it to be living, it has to be tended 24/7. Your thoughts are going 24/7. And coming to these classes and things, you're going to learn something that you didn't have before it started and have that going forward. Plus, you're going to get to be with people. And a lot of the people that I now know very well in this church, I didn't know at all until I went to classes with them where they bared their souls. And I will say that this group, from the top to the bottom, when we come, I don't know, anybody who was here when Robert was speaking, we had that little thing and he told us his story on the stage before he passed away and stuff. There are things that people tell you that you will never be able to look at that being and not love them. But you can't see it if you're at home. And you can't see it if you don't show up. And you can't see it if you're not brave and you come here and you share what it is that you're going through in the appropriate thing. And when we have these classes and we bring in Paul from outside, you may not really want to do Unity 12 Steps. You may think that's just a piece of crap. But going to it, you will know more about this church, these people, and you might find something you didn't know that you can use going forward. So I just ask everybody to be open-minded. This is not a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we're done. This is a daily, you're going to get up and there's going to be a morning where you go, I don't want to go to church. Good God, I don't want to go to church. Show up anyway. If you can be here for what you can be here. And we're going to, yeah, sorry. So this is good right here. More people. And I know there's 20 more people that are watching or they want to be watching.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm done, sorry, but.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We have to let Dave, you've been here forever.
Just real short, yes.
Yeah.
I've been here. That's what I wanted to say. Wow, and I got to follow that. Although she said about everything I really wanted to say, honestly, strangely enough. My name is Dave Allgaier, and I've been here since 2000 about.
Yeah.
Jeannie and I go way, way back. But I think a few things that maybe some people haven't mentioned that are very important. Number one, recently with all the people that have come and gone since then, going back to Doug and Garnet, people have really stepped up in this church. And I don't know if they're recognized or not. I don't think they're recognized enough, that's for sure, to me, and I'm not blaming people, but I would love to really recognize, as I said, so first of all, Jeannie, who has always been here through thick and thin, like she just said,
there's so many
but
of you,
also
though.
Jeannie and Tim. You know, those three
Yes.
people are such an important part of this church. I mean, in my mind, I'm sure other people have recognized it too, have stepped up in so many different ways, have kept the church, I would say even together, and built the church and done all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of other people too. Maybe have done as much, I'm not sure, but I definitely know to what I see, that Jeannie and Tam and Jeannie, oh my gosh. Can we give these people a big hand, and all the other people that have helped us?
Look, I appreciate
Very
everybody,
good.
though. And Dave, thank you for that. But you
Thank
can't know the glory in each of your faces. It's just amazing when you're here.
And
so.
one other last thing.
Oh, yeah.
And she started on this. You know, I've also seen, I was made recently when Russ left, okay? And I was gone for 2 weeks, so I didn't know about it till I came back. Of course, it was a shock to me, too. I was so surprised to learn that there were people that were still hanging on to James, that they were still missing James. I mean, okay, that's wonderful. You know, I mean, it's not wonderful, but I mean, that's okay. But all the things I keep hearing, and even going back further than that, and all the other people that have come and left, you know, and I keep thinking, this isn't unity. You know, this little hate and, you know, revenge and all this kind of stuff, like she's kind of said. I mean, it's bickering and stuff. I mean, it's just, you've got to let that go. That's the healing she's talking about. You know, we've got to let that go and move on. And it's wonderful to like some people, and like she said, if you're going to not like some people, that's human nature. But I think it's very, very important that we just come together as a community, recognize the past as the past, as Tam said, and move on.
Okay.
No, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm so sorry.
Now, I am going to move on because it's really important. We have to have 5 people on the board. And
Jeannie, I got to stop you real quick.
All right.
Just before. And this is because, you know, you've only been in this president role for 2 weeks, but
I'm not really even in the role. I'm
well, you're
just
not even
conducting the
officially in the
meeting.
role.
Yeah, I'm just conducting
but
this meeting.
I was reading the bylaws, and I'm sorry. But anyways, did you know that the board or the membership we can replace Russ on the board also, per the bylaws? So Russ, the minister had a seat on the board, and there is something in the bylaws said that you can actually replace that person.
Well,
on the
we
board
have
also.
to have 5.
Right.
And what's tricky is the qualifications. And
That's true, according to
and
how
so
the bylaws are.
at this time, I'm going for the minimum of 5. And so yes, we can replace all you want. But then you're going to be out of compliance with the bylaws again, because there's not a big pool of people that have had the classes and done other things.
That's a good point. I just wasn't sure if you were aware.
I was aware.
That we could do that.
Yes.
And before, I just want to say thank you.
Okay.
This is so hard to do. Jeannie, I give her just all kinds of praise for stepping up and doing this, because you can tell that you know, we're throwing, I was throwing some darts, but some other people were throwing darts too, and she just stands there and takes it, and I do appreciate it. So let's get to the nominations.
Okay. Well, the way it is, the board can vote for that. It's just that I realized, I knew that you took over if the president, but I didn't realize that you were the one that was supposed to step in as Andre stepped down. And I mean, look, I don't want any title, but I just know that I'm here and you have a job. And how do I resolve that?
So, I was talking about Jeannie earlier. Here's the mic. Let me get the mic. I just think as long as we sort of have a record of it now, with Vonda, you being here and saying your situation with the job and stuff, that it just would make it nearly impossible for you to step into that role, and that you have also kind of passed the wand over to Jeannie, and we'll have a record of that in the meeting minutes. Does anybody?
I think that goes within the bylaws, and we have to vote on it. We can do that with who we have here.
Well, The board votes on the officers.
Yeah, the
that's
board
not a
votes on the
problem.
officers.
Right.
Let's get it done so that you can do that, 'cause like I said, I've been gone for 6 weeks prior, and I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks after.
Okay, we'll get that.
Needed for 5 members, and they can get together and vote who's going to be president.
That's right. And
Yes,
so
yes.
well, I've asked Sandy, because she is qualified and she has such a history in Unity and we work together so well. So I've asked her to serve until March. And then we're trying to create advisory positions, and they also can shadow the board, and then they can step up in March and become board members, because 3 people are going off in March. So I've asked Bill Bennett to do that, and I've invited Jeannie Bailey to do it, and I've also said that we want Tam to attend meetings.
Are you changing your mind now?
As well, huh?
Are you going to change your mind?
He can't be on the board because he's a paid employee of the
No,
board.
no.
Right.
You're right. I can't be on the board. You're
But
correct.
attend.
I won't have a vote.
And advisors cannot vote, but they can work with us.
He really does not qualify for that.
No, there's nothing in the bylaws
What,
that
to be-
restrict that.
To attend the meeting?
Paid employee to be on the board.
Oh, I don't want him to be on the board. We're working, we're needing to really work as a team, to keep things
I
cohesive.
won't have a vote. I won't have a vote either. Bill won't have a vote. Jeannie won't have a vote.
Yeah, my intention is not for him to eventually be on the board. It's just that I want the board to work more closely with him. Because we don't have a spiritual leader here to do it, so.
I'll
Okay.
nominate Sandy Groves.
Okay.
To be on the board, if anybody would like to second that.
I'll second it.
Okay, all members vote aye for Sandy being on the board until March of 2019. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Sandy, you're in, girl. Okay. I will talk more about this later. This is my array of jobs, and I'm trying to. You can't even read it. I'm sorry. It's pretty, isn't it, though? But there's like a worship committee, a music committee, the prayer chaplains, and I'm trying to fill some leadership places, and I will definitely be calling you all and talking to more people. Huh? Yeah. Well, Pat.
Well, you're kind of
You're prayer chaplain. So I recommend that November be devoted toward a gratitude practice culminating in a cornucopia service led by Colleen Brown, and Sandy and Colleen and I are working on that. And in December, I'm going to devote it to the power of life and getting life back in this church. And there will be tasks and activities to enrich these months. I've got some ideas. I'm looking at forming a meetup group. I want to contact Jerry Tucker and see if we can get solutions going again. I've told y'all, I've invited y'all to this wonderful NVC opportunity Tuesday night. I'm gonna, anyway, I've got ideas that I want to roll out, but I want your ideas as well. We need to wrap up here, but Laura Danley needs our support, and with Sounds of Unity, I want to be talking to you about what you need to do. There's a big concert coming up in November that if we all really would support that, it'd be wonderful. And we want to fill the church, but and seriously, like Tam and I have talked about dreams of taking some pews out and getting round tables and making this look.
February, like a cabaret style.
Wouldn't that be fabulous? So, but that's a dream. But I've got dreams. I've got ideas, man. Huh? And December, okay. So we need to all get really informed about these special events and get behind them. You know, some of the best life this summer was with your Greg. Tamlin.
Oh, Greg Tamlin.
That worked. It was really a lot of fun, and it jazzed things up around here. And so I know we can get behind these all these special things. Does anyone else have anything burning left to say? Yes, Travis. Here, Jeannie's coming.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Jeannie and thank you, Sandy, for willing to take the position and to the board. And you know what, guys? We're going to be okay. This is going to be all right. But this keeps coming through to me. And this church has been here for 87 years.
Yeah.
Is that what we said?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's important that we remember. And for those of you who know this, that this microphone's cutting out. That there is a spirit of unity of Little Rock. I'm not talking about just some hokey. There is truly a spiritual being that is formed here. And I want to encourage us all in your meditation and in your prayer to tap in that there is a spirit, a beautiful Sophia trying to manifest, a physical manifestation in and we can tap into that and remember and hold that space of what is it that the spirit of unity of love is trying to call forth in each of us. That's when this church will grow. This is a living being, y'all. We are just simply parts of this living being. So I just had to share that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. That's a good way to end.
Jeannie, can I just say, because it's on the same thing that he was talking about, that I didn't get to mention, very, very important. In all the years I've been here, since 2000, and all the people that have come and gone and still here and everything, I have never seen unity stronger than it is right now. I mean that. There are more people, more active, more involved, and more, I don't know, like you said, the energy is just mind-boggling. I don't care whether it's big or large or whatever, it is great. I mean, and we should be bigger. With that, I'd like to be bigger, but thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Laura? And then we'll...
Travis, I feel that, and I felt that when I started. Robert, we each are here to do. We are each different parts of that spirit, and mine, of course, is music. For those of you who know me, and you may not know, maybe you've been hearing Sounds of Unity. It's been 19 months now, and maybe it's a phrase in your head. It is. I named it Sounds of Unity because I know that all sound comes from the same place. And you may have certain music that you like or you prefer. Everybody that we have exactly the kind of music that you it features local talent. It's a quality program. It's a spirit, it's a feeling. I personally music more than any other way, through sound. Sound is healing. If you climb in the water with a dolphin, what happens? That sonar, that sound ministers to you. It opens your heart. It heals your body. It heals your spirit. And that's what Sounds of Unity is to me every month. So I bring flyers every month. Justin or I create these beautiful, beautiful flyers, so that you have something in your hand that you can take and put up where you work. You can put it up where you live. You can put it on your refrigerator. Just send your love toward it every month. So far in the last 19 months, we've featured local artists. And I met Treva when I lived in Hot Springs, when she was living in Arkansas, but she's now a Nashville recording artist. And so on November 16th, she'll be here to share her love, her joy, her sound, her healing with us. Dustin Ashley Beam, who we had just last month, for those 10 of us who were here, it was small in number, but he just stood up there with his own unique expression of the one. And he ministered to every one of us who were here. And I know Sandy's going to have him back to do something special. So I chose the third Friday of every month so that by now all of us would know when it is. And we'd know how and when to come and be together and to bring somebody. So, thank you. I just want to say.
Well, I'm glad you did. Okay.
It's been on my heart for almost 2 years now. Frank asked me to do it. It took me a year to be ready.
You did great, actually. I just, real quickly, in trouble. First of all, well, one other thing is Jeannie's been here leading this the last 2 or 3 times that we've needed a minister, and so we should be really grateful for her because she has the experience and the power and the wisdom, and she's going to hit me later, but it's true. Another thing is that on Tuesday night she wants to have a special thing for NBC. I'm just going to mention the Oneness Blessing, which is going to happen roughly after that. It's a beautiful healing oneness energy, so it's all about unity as well, and it'll be a nice way to follow that if you're interested. The other thing is, why are you here? That's what you need to look at. What is it you want out of the church? And then give that. Laura just talked about what she loves to give, and what she loves about it, and what she loves to receive, and it's what she gives. And that's where the power comes from, is when we find out why we want to be here, and we use that as a motivation, and we give what we want. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hold on. We're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to do something a little irreverent. I'm going to give you one of my daddy's little blessings so you can go to lunch. Brother Ben shot a goose, killed a hen. Let's eat.